August 6th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting on Wall Street, hit by fears of a slowing U.S. economy. U.S. stock markets tumbled sharply on Monday following falls witnessed in Asia and Europe over worries that the American economy could be sliding into a recession. The S&P 500 posted its worst day in nearly 2 years on Monday, falling 3%. 22-year-old South Korean shuttler An Se-young is bringing home her country's first badminton singles title in 28 years by winning her first Olympic gold medal in the women's singles in Paris on Monday. South Korea's Cho Young-jae also won silver in men's 25-meter rapid-fire pistol shooting. On top of already heightened regional tensions over an expected Iranian retaliatory attack on Israel, 2 rockets were reportedly launched at an airbase in Iraq housing U.S. forces on Monday, leaving several personnel injured. Wall Street stocks plunged to their lowest in 2 years over growing fears of a U.S. economic downturn rattled by a slowdown in hiring and consumer spending. Now, Monday's turmoil raised expectations that the Federal Reserve may push ahead with aggressive rate cuts. Song Hee-jun reports.
Wall Street has suffered its worst day in almost 2 years due to fears of economic recession in the U.S. The Dow Jones on Monday fell 2.6% or almost 1,000 points, and the S&P closed down 3%, both marking the biggest daily drop since September 2022. The tech-heavy Nasdaq lost 3.4%. On the same day, $650 billion of market cap was wiped off the so-called Magnificent Seven stocks, 7 of the biggest performing tech stocks in the U.S. Ahead of these plunges, South Korea's stock market experienced a Black Monday, with shares falling more than 8% on Monday, while Japan's stock market also suffered its biggest ever one-day loss. This comes as recent data show that the U.S. unemployment rate reached a nearly 3-year high in July, stoking fears of a slowdown in the world's largest economy. Amid rising recession fears, there are expectations of aggressive rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. Jeremy Siegel, Professor Emeritus of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, suggested the Fed should hold an emergency meeting to lower rates by 0.75 percentage points, believing the rate should be around 3.5%. On the other hand, some believe that an urgent rate cut by the Fed does not seem necessary.
We went from months and months of when's the Fed going to ease and how much are they going to ease this year and next, to one where growth is plunging and the Fed is behind the curve. So we've had a change in attitude. It's been based on some weakening data. In our opinion, is the economy slowing? Yes. Is there any need for an emergency Fed cut? Doesn't look like it in our opinion.
The market is expected to reassess the risk of a recession based on the new unemployment claims data coming out this Thursday. Song Hee-jun, Arirang News.
Amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, 2 rockets were reportedly fired on Monday at an airbase in Iraq where U.S. troops are stationed. According to Reuters, citing multiple security sources, 2 Katyusha rockets were fired at Iraq's al-Asad airbase. The report did not say whether the attack resulted in casualties or damage to facilities. The attack comes amid fears of Iran launching retaliatory measures against Israel after the recent assassination of a top Hamas leader and Hezbollah commanders. Now, both Israel and the U.S. have been ramping up their military readiness postures in the region. North Korea showed off 250 new ballistic missile launchers, which it's sending to frontline military units over the weekend. And the leader, Kim Jong-un, made himself present there. What is the showcase all about? Let's turn to Professor Park Won-gun this morning. Great to have you back, Professor Park.
Great to have me here.
Isn't the North having a difficult time after the monsoon rain that reportedly left huge damage and casualties? Why the ceremony now?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons, and you just mentioned that North Korea has suffered by this huge flood. So public sentiment, definitely Kim Jong-un needed to bring in more support for his people because of these difficulties. The typical way that the North Korea gaining support from their public is showing the Kim Jong-un's kind of a military achievement. And it is well-known fact that North Korea, of course, other socialist country, they emphasize so-called siege mentality. They've been seized by their enemies. In this case, North Korea always proclaimed that they've been seized by South Korea, United States, and Japan. And so in order to overcome these kind of difficulties, Kim Jong-un needed to show his military capability, especially nuclear capability. So this is one of the reasons. And the second reason is that, and since last December, many people remember that North Korea has totally changed policy toward South Korea. They quote South Korea as #1 enemy. And since then, Kim Jong-un has prepared all the war plan against South Korea. And especially last April, the Kim Jong-un himself showed that so-called, they do have some kind of warning system. They called it 화산 경보. And then they introduced this comprehensive nuclear war plan. They call that nuclear trigger 핵 방아쇠. So this is one of the processes to implement this kind of a comprehensive plan to attack South Korea with a short-range nuclear ballistic missiles.
And, speaking of the flood damage, South Korea's Red Cross proposed, providing humanitarian aid to North Korea and the flood victims there. The North has yet to accept the offer, and it doesn't look like it will, right?
No, I don't think North Korea will accept the South Koreans' humanitarian assistance because there are a couple of reasons. And I just mentioned the last December 2019, and North Korea has introduced new policy towards South Korea. They call it frontal breakthrough policy direction and line. And it's emphasized that the North Korea will not have any kind of a meaningful exchange or dialogue with South Korea and United States. And also allegedly known that at this time of period, 2019 December, Kim Jong-un himself ordered not to get even a penny from the South Korea. And I just mentioned the last December, North Korea changed its policy towards South Korea, and they consider South Korea as #1 enemy, so there is no chance to get any kind of help. And finally, all the recovery process, we are seeing that Kim Jong-un is totally and solely control all the process. And it is showing that Kim Jong-un's dedication is North Korea's news media, and his car, Kim Jong-un's car, was almost swept away by the flood, and he took a small boat without wearing a life jacket, and even he held the emergency political bureau meeting at that spot. So Kim Jong-un is also even did not receive any Russia's help. So overall, Kim Jong-un totally wanted to take a responsibility and to have dedication for their own people. He want to show that to their people.
That looks like the case for now. Now, let's talk about the ceremony itself on Sunday. Images released by the regime indicate there are transporter erector launcher vehicles for the Hwasong-11 Law close-range ballistic missiles. Now, these missiles are completely new, aren't they? What do we know about these so far?
Yes, these missiles have a couple of the characteristics. First, definitely is attacked solely on South Korea. And we call these close-range ballistic missiles, CRBM. The missile range is estimated to be about 110 kilometers range to attack South Korea. And they have a first test of these missiles in April 2022. And this is one of the efforts that North Korea has diversified their tactical nuclear missiles. Since May 2019, North Korea has developed the various tactical nuclear missiles, for example, like KN-23, 24, and 25, and others. So put one more type in their list. And finally, bringing more cost to the South Korean U.S. alliance. And it can, these North Korea's CRBM can be detected and destroyed by South Korea U.S. alliance, but it's also bringing more cost for the alliance too.
Professor Bob, going back to what you mentioned, North Korea labeling South Korea as the #1 enemy. Now, Kim Jong-un on Sunday noted Washington will remain a hostile nation for generations. Do you think the North will remain vocal about showing its hostility against the U.S. up until the presidential election in November?
I think Kim Jong-un actually wants to negotiation with the United States, of course, after the November U.S. presidential election. And in his speech, he repeated twice that conversation and confrontation with the United States. Of course, for the past couple of years, Kim Jong-un never mentioned the conversation with Biden administration, but this time he talked about the conversation. Of course, he definitely criticized the United States, but it is important to talk about the conversation. So I think after the U.S. election, Kim Jong-un will try to find some chance to talk with the United States, prefer their former president, Donald Trump. But definitely North Korea will demand some kind of precondition and permanent halt of the South Korea-U.S. joint military exercise, because Trump himself called it the joint military exercise as a war game, provocative and expensive. North Korea's their very clear goal. They want to be a de facto nuclear weapon state, and they do not want to have a denuclearization talk. Instead, they want to have arms control talks.
Right, North Korea wanting to play the upper hand as usual. Professor Bach, thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Living up to expectations as the world #1, South Korea's An Se-young on Monday won gold in the women's badminton singles event. South Korea also added another medal in shooting on the day, claiming the country's 6th medal in the sport. Lee Seung-jae reports.
It's one thing to be ranked #1 in the world, but to take on the pressure and win Olympic gold is another. South Korea's An Se-young, who's ranked #1 in the world in women's badminton singles, faced off against China's He Bingjiao on Monday and did not disappoint. An dominated her opponent in straight sets 21-13, 21-16 for a 2-0 win in the final to claim the top podium spot. With the win, An claimed South Korea's 11th gold medal in Paris and the country's first gold medal in the sport since Bang Soo-hyun in 1996. South Korea has shown its dominance in archery, but it's also shown that it's one of the best in the world when it comes to shooting events. The country added yet another Olympic medal in shooting on Monday when Cho Young-jae won the men's 25-meter rapid-fire pistol silver, marking South Korea's 6th medal in the sport. Cho started off strong but finished second behind China's Lee Yu-hong. With the 6th podium finish in shooting in Paris, South Korea won more shooting medals this year than any other Olympics before. And finally, South Korea has advanced to the quarterfinals of women's table tennis team event after defeating Brazil 3-1 on Monday. The trio of Shin Yu-bin, Chun Ji-hee, and Lee Eun-hae advanced after 1 doubles and 3 singles matches. The duo of Shin and Jun won the opening double event to start things off. Lee lost the first singles event, but her teammates cruised through in the next. Shin won a mixed doubles bronze earlier and is now eyeing her 2nd Paris Olympic medal. With 11 gold medals in Paris, South Korea is now 2 top podium finishes away from matching its Summer Games record set during the 2008 Beijing Summer Games and 2012 London Summer Olympics. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Political dispute shows little signs of dialing down, with repeated passing of bills by the opposition and the ruling party continuously asking the president to reject them. Now, this time, lawmakers wrangled over a controversial pro-labor bill. Our political correspondent Arirang reports.
The first day of the August extraordinary session has begun, and the standoff between the rival parties over contentious bills continues. The opposition-led National Assembly on Monday approved what's been dubbed the Yellow Envelope Bill, a revision to the Trade Union and Labor Relations Adjustment Act. It passed a bill with 177 votes in favor and 2 against amid a ruling People Power Party boycott. The vote followed a 31-hour-long debate initiated by the PPP on Friday after the main opposition Democratic Party tabled the bill. The filibuster ended automatically at midnight on Saturday with the conclusion of the July extraordinary session. The pro-labor bill aims to restrict companies from asserting claims for damages in valid union disputes.
The yellow envelope bill is a livelihood bill designed to fill legal gaps and improve the labor market. Ensuring the right to strike is both a constitutional duty of the country and a right of workers.
The PPP plans to urge the president to exercise his veto power on 6 bills, including the one passed on Monday, as well as the 4 broadcasting bills and a cash handout bill passed last week.
There are no brakes on the DP's legislative flood. We urge the president to exercise his veto power. As the August extraordinary session begins today, we call on the DP to end the political strife and focus on people's livelihoods.
Since the 22nd National Assembly began, livelihood bills, including those addressing the low birth rate, have been pushed aside due to the ongoing partisan conflict. The rival parties have been blaming each other for sidelining these bills. Meanwhile, also at Monday's session, the Assembly passed a bill approving the appointment of Supreme Court Justice nominee Lee Soo-kyun, this time with the PPP's participation. Lee was earlier selected by Supreme Court Chief Justice Cho Hee-dae to replace one of the 3 outgoing justices at the top court. However, Lee's confirmation hearing was delayed after it was revealed that her daughter made a 63-fold profit by selling shares but with her father's money, giving this back to her father. 신하영, Arirang News.
If you're here in South Korea looking for ways to escape the summer heat, how about a traditional tea time that the kings used to enjoy? Now, beautiful traditional scenery is on the house. Our An Sung-jin tells us more.
The Green Mountain in the background blends in with the traditional buildings. Tangdang Palace, one of the 5 royal palaces from the Joseon dynasty, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its architectural value and natural landscape. This building, which opened up to public for this summer, used to be the Royal Medical Clinic, responsible for the king's health. Not only did doctors here provide medical care to the royal court, but they also wrote books on traditional Korean medicine. This yakbang in Tangdang Palace is the only one among the 5 palaces which has been restored. Now it offers traditional events such as making scent bags and trying traditional tea.
We put in different herbs for the scent bag. It was really fun to make it ourselves.
Jaehotang, which literally translates to delicious and refreshing, used to be a drink enjoyed by the king and royal court on a hot day. Drinking it can make you feel refreshed during the summer heat.
It's unique and it's a great souvenir actually to take with me.
I'm very interested in traditional culture and history, so I love visiting palaces. And specifically today, it was the infirmary that was open that made us come today. It's really good that in Korea you have these opportunities to try new things.
On one side, an exhibition gives a glimpse of a daily life at the yakbang with medicinal herb-making tools such as bowls and clothing displayed. This area will be open to the public till August 18th from Wednesdays to Sundays. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Good morning. I'm Kim Si-young, and this is The World Now. Following the resignation and fleeing of Bangladesh's longtime Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Monday, crowds took to the streets to celebrate the news. After hours after Hasina's resignation, President Mohammed Shahabuddin released jailed former PM Khalida Zia and all students detained in the recent protests. The 76-year-old Hasina reportedly fled to New Delhi, India, after the end of her 15-year rule of Bangladesh. Some of the crowds were seen storming the Prime Ministerial Palace, with reports of looting and vandalism of parts of the ex-PM's former residence. Bangladesh's Army Chief, General Waqar-ul-Zaman, announced that an interim government will be in charge of the country, lifting the national curfew and calling for new elections. Unrest continued on Monday, however, as police and other government buildings were attacked and set ablaze in Dhaka, while protesters attempted to tear down a statue of independence leader Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, ex-PM Hasina's father. The AFP news agency reported that at least 66 were killed on Monday, while local media Dhaka Tribune said up to 135 had been killed. A U.S. federal judge ruled on Monday that tech giant Google violated antitrust laws as it acted illegally to suppress competition and maintain a monopoly on related advertising as the world's biggest search engine. U.S. District Court Judge Amit Mehta for the District Court of Columbia made the landmark decision, saying that, quote, Google is a monopolist and it has acted as one to maintain its monopoly. According to the court case, Google paid $26.3 billion in 2021 to maintain search engine dominance. Judge Mehta added that Google has violated Section 2 of the Sherman Act, saying that the search engine giant's dominating position has led to anti-competitive behaviors that must be stopped. Judge Mehta specifically mentioned that Google's exclusive deals with Apple and other key players in the tech ecosystem were anti-competitive, while Google also charged high prices for advertisements, which was made possible through its market monopoly. The U.S. Department of Justice sued Google in 2020 over its control of some 90% of the online search market. Shares of Google's parent company, Alphabet, fell 4.5% on Monday, seen as part of a broad tech share decline. Google advertising generated 77% of Alphabet's total sales in 2023. Hurricane Debby made landfall in the Big Bend region of Florida's Gulf Coast on Monday morning local time, already leaving at least 4 people dead. According to the National Hurricane Center, Debby made landfall at around 7 a.m. after strengthening into a Category 1 hurricane with some 130 km/h winds late on Sunday. At 11 a.m. local time, it was downgraded to a tropical storm. The Hurricane Center's director, Michael Brennan, said that Debby is expected to bring up to 500 millimeters of rain into the southeast coast, saying that some areas may see over 800 millimeters. Local media reported that over 300,000 energy customers are currently without power, while downpours and floods are hitting Florida's Gulf Coast hard. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency for 61 out of 67 counties in the state, while his office stated that 3,000 National Guard members have been mobilized to recover areas expected to be affected. In South America, 2 passengers were arrested at Boa Vista International Airport in Brazil on Sunday, trying to smuggle more than 500 canaries in suitcases. Federal police agents found the canaries in small cages, which many would have died had the passengers been able to successfully check in their luggage and sent them to a wildlife triage center. This is already the 3rd seizure, hundreds of canaries at the Boa Vista airport in less than 2 months, with authorities rescuing some 1,400 canaries in total. Metropol's news outlet reported that each canary can be sold for a price between $180 to $710.
Good morning. It looks to be a repeat of yesterday's scorching temperatures with heat warnings in place across Korea. Take it easy on the outdoor activities during the hottest parts of the day and be sure to drink plenty of water. Staying hydrated is critical as it regulates your body temperature, and dehydration is a major reason for heat exhaustion. Meanwhile, heavy meals can make you feel sluggish, so it's best to avoid them around this time. And just like yesterday, we are expecting showers across most of Korea. Those in the southern regions and west of Gangwon-do province need to look out for downpours during the day today. Afternoon temperatures will go up as high as yesterday with a high of 33 degrees Celsius here in the capital. Daejeon, Gwangju will see a high of 34 degrees. The scorcher continues day and night with a chance of isolated rain throughout the rest of the week. And on Saturday, we are looking at another blast of searing heat with an expected high of 35 degrees here in the capital. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Until then, goodbye.